Greetings to one and all, it's your old buddy Jay here, coming at you with another Countermeasures game changer. I've been on a roll these last few weeks, so I thought I'd keep the momentum up. I've been getting in a lot of gaming recently, and yeah, today I would like to talk about a very sweet little game that I played called Arise: A Simple Story. Now, this game is probably a little bit different than the ones I usually play, aka post-apocalyptic, gun-shooting, zombie-filled monster epics. This is a much smaller kind of 4 to 5 hour experience, and it is a game that is published by Techland. The developers are Piccolo Studio, and it came out on the PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, Microsoft Windows and Xbox One, and obviously it's now out on the next gen consoles as well, which is where I played this. So I played the PS4 version of this game on the PS5. It is an indie game, so I tend to sort of lean more towards the sort of AAA games of the the kind of higher end games, only because a lot of indie games that I have played, I kind of always think, I know there are some real gems out there, but I tend to find that I have to sieve through hundreds of them to get to one that's any good. So I try and find a game that has that's been recommended to me, or it might be just a free download that I can try the first few minutes of. Arise was one of those downloads. I believe it was on the PlayStation Plus subscription service last year, I believe, and yeah, I just decided that I'd fire it up and have a go and see what it's all about, because I instantly liked the artistic style of the cover art, which was the chap we just looked at there, which is the old guy reaching up to the person coming down from the sky, and it's all very simple graphics and all very sort of muted illustration style with some quite vibrant colours. So stylistically, instantly I was hooked by that image, and I thought, well, I'll give this a go. And more often than not, you pick a book up, it's the old don't judge it by its cover. The cover art, the design of it for these kind of indie games looks amazing, and then you immediately start playing the game, and you feel that actually that probably was the best bit about that game, and then subsequently turn it off. I have been really pleasantly surprised about this game. It's a really simple, sweet game, which is basically charts an emotional journey through the bittersweet lives of two people, where basically your memories come alive. You have the power to bend time to your will, and it is just a really positive, happy story, and it's each level as it progresses is another step forward in time. So you start off as this old chap. It begins where you're on a funeral pyre, so you're kind of you're obviously reliving the last few moments of your life, or you've passed, and this is where you sort of moved on to this kind of world of memories, and each level is a different memory, a different step forward in time for this person's life. So as you go through, you'll find sort of various statues and icons and things that happen around you that indicate significant memories of this person's life. And I just thought it was really quite sweet game. Now, the main mechanic of this is it's a kind of sort of platform puzzler. There's a little bit of a kind of like basic sort of Uncharted climbing mechanic here, which you can see, and yeah, you play this old chap. He is very small. He's meant to be this sort of little tiny borrower kind of chap, and you're in this this world where things like flowers are absolutely huge, or the rocks that would normally just be a rock are actually boulders for you, and it makes for an intriguing environment, because it's an environment that people are generally people are used to seeing, but when you change the scale of your character, it suddenly makes everything a lot more engaging, I feel, for a video game like this, because it means that the little flowers are actually trees, and the bugs that wouldn't normally be a threat to you can be a threat to you. So playing with that scale is always fun in any game, and this game really really does play with that. So as you can see here, first sort of, I'm only going to show the first few levels of this. I'm not going to get too deep into spoilers, but this character's obviously remembering some significant moments from his childhood. Just while these things, there's a very simplistic style to this game, which I love, and also there's a lot going on without being too overblown. So here you're in the snow, so walking around and leaving all your indentations in snow is always a fun thing to do, and I do feel that the simplicity of that, a little bit of snow moving in the background, like here the lighting works really well on casting shadows, etc. I really like that. Now the key mechanic of this game is basically you control a short space of time within each level, so you can zoom time forward or reverse it back, but only within a short space, only within like a kind of, like a 10 or 15 second loop. But within that loop you get a whole load of options in terms of being able to jump onto things, to move rocks around so that you can jump on them, and then the rock, you can move time forward while you're on the rock and the rock will roll, and then basically that then allows you to access other platforms that you wouldn't have done previously. So things like that, and it's not completely linear. There are hidden sections of this game which basically allow you to find extra memories and things like that, which I think is very sweet. It's a very sort of slow paced, sort of Mario-esque 3D platformer, which I actually found quite sort of peaceful and therapeutic. Like I said, the art style is very simple. I like it. It feels very painted. There's something quite kind of acrylic based paints about this for some reason, and I just really again, similar thing to like Breath of the Wild, which has that kind of very simplistic simplistic elements to it in the backgrounds and the colours and the flush grass and all that kind of stuff, which this also has, and I think it works really well. I really feel the textures of this game while you're playing it, like the sponginess of the mushroom when you're jumping on them, and the kind of the water ripples all feel very very well done and very well created. So hats off to the design team for putting all that together, because the problem with some of these indie games is that they can have a good idea behind them but aren't always executed that well, or they have a terrible idea and they're executed really well. So very rarely do I find an example of where it kind of goes hand in hand, and I think this game is definitely one of those things, one of those examples where it goes hand in hand. Now as the game moves on, obviously each level has something sort of slightly different and unique about it. My favourite level today is the one where you're jumping on the sunflowers, because it's just so refreshing and so different. And so basically you control time. Obviously everybody knows that as sunflowers, as the day progresses, sunflowers all follow the sun, so they move during that time as well, so it allows you to sort of play around with that mechanic, and I just thought it was really nice. And also there aren't many games that my 3-year-old can play. I mean, we've played a few sort of things like Paw Patrol and things like that together, but even those are quite technical. There's not really, there's a few elements to those games that aren't quite geared up for sort of 3, nearly 4-year-old. This game she did really love, because it's a very simple thing where I was controlling the time mechanic and then she was just sort of moving forward and jumping onto things, and she really enjoyed it, and I as a result I think like we had a good shared experience on this, and I think that as going forward I'd like to look into more games that allow that kind of co-op, because it does add another dimension to it, especially with kids that are so young, and she doesn't play that many computer games, if any, but with this one we just had fun for half an hour just sort of messing around with the mechanics. And there's later parts where you can jump on spiders' webs and all sorts of things like that, so she did enjoy that, and like I said, the level of quality of this game, the finish on this game was just really high, and it does actually get quite dark in places as the game goes on. I mean, in later levels there are some elements of dealing with loss and things like that, which obviously poignant to various people at various points in their life, and I think they captured it really well and did that really well. And as you can see here, I've just hung on a bee. because, you know, why not? Why not hang on a bee? That's what I say. And yeah, so I guess being able to that time element is such a really great mechanic that you know, it's been done in other games and what have you. But what this game seems to do is really boil down the simplicity of that, and allow you to really sort of play around with it within the levels. And I think that that's something that is incredibly successful at. So yeah, this is Arise, a simple story, and like I said, it's on all good platforms, and you know, Steam and Switch, etc. So I would definitely recommend it. For me, it's a definite 8 out of 10. I think it's a really strong game, really great game. The developers did really well on this. I don't know, I mean, it's been been well received, but I don't believe that it quite got the marketing push that it should have done, because I almost missed it. And you know, I've got my finger on the pulse with all games coming out and you know, and all nerd media, as they like to say. And I almost missed it, and I'm glad that I went back and revisited it. And if you have the time, I would recommend that you do the same. So yeah, that's all I've got to say about this one. So yeah, if you get a chance to play it, then I would thoroughly recommend that you go ahead and just find a few hours to sort of go through this very lovely and slow-paced and simple game that is just incredibly satisfying to play. So with that, I would just like to say, and be good, stay safe, and be kind to one another. Cheers.